How are Vermonters doing in meeting their basic needs? The State of Working Vermont published the Public Assets Institute takes the pulse of Vermonters and their economic well-being this year. It shows Vermonters writ large are struggling to make ends meet, housing, healthcare, and food. The report shows COVID-era supports have largely gone away, and despite Vermonters' wages growing, the cost of living continues to outpace what the state considers a livable wage.
I think the story of this year is the roller coaster of what's happening at the federal level, much of it, harmful to working and vulnerable families.
She says heading into the legislative session where money will be tight, lawmakers could look at new taxes on higher earners to recoup some of the tax breaks from the big beautiful bill.